Caterina!
Knights of Cabiria, the tale of an endlessly optimistic, if beaten down, prostitute with a yearning for love, and La Dolce Vita, about a dissatisfied journalist with a roving eye, were Federico Fellini's sixth and seventh feature films. While they are back-to-back in his filmography, they were released 3 years apart, an unusual length of time in his prolific first decade as a director. Both films depict the rapid growth of Rome in the post-war era, its mix of ancient artifacts, medieval traditions, and extremely modern development. They are two of Fellini's last works in black and white, still grounded in reality before he departed into dreams and fantasies one film later, and richly colorful tapestries one film after that. Depicting a world of religion, celebrity, prostitution, and show business, structured around alternating day and night sequences, contrasting sexual and spiritual longings, Knights of Cabiria and La Dolce Vita also feature two of Fellini's most iconic stars, his wife, Giulietta Messina, and his alter ego, Marcello Mastroianni. As always, the similarities are belied by telling contrasts. The style and look, the social context, the structure, the characters of these two stories all diverge in a fashion that tells us much about the trajectory of Fellini's career and the evolution of Italian cinema and society.
Il cinema nuovo crede che il neorealismo italiano sia vivo o morto?
Say alive.
La Dolce Vita represents a firm break with the neo-realist tradition in which Fellini was incubated as a screenwriter. All of his directorial work, including Knights of Cabiria, represents a more eccentric turn for the movement, grounded in everyday poverty and humble technique. But Cabiria remains relatively close to both the rough style and hard-scrabble milieu, typical of neo-realism. Whereas La Dolce Vita is slicker in its style, more prone to flamboyant gestures, and far more immersed in a world of glamorous sheen, even when it condescends to the sorts of locations that Knights of Cabiria takes for granted.
Ma cosa se crede lei? Io c'ho casa mia, sa.
Cabiria is proud of her humble home, owned outright, and she scrapes together savings from her sex work. Nonetheless, she is extremely low on Rome's social scale.
Beh, certo che mica una casa come questa. Ma a me basta.
And whatever she manages to make is repeatedly stolen by calculating con men.
Ma se vuoi che io ti aiuti a cambiare abitudini, potrei farti conoscere un editore, per esempio, che ti offra un lavoro decente e ti dia la possibilità di dedicarti a ciò che più ti interessa.
Marcello, whose artistic dreams have been set aside for the lucrative trade in gossip, sells himself as well, but, so it seems, for more of a profit, and with far more cultural cachet.
Can't believe it.
Their genders also impact their options and outcomes. Marcello uses his professional access to prowl amongst the high and low-class women alike, while the proud Cabiria eagerly turns over her own resources for the outside chance that a man might provide for her. The characters quite simply inhabit vastly different worlds, one occasionally peering into luxurious lifestyles, while the other interacts with these economic elites on a regular basis. This is never more evident than in the first nighttime sequences of the two movies. In La Dolce Vita, Marcello runs into Maddalena, a sleek socialite in an abusive relationship. Together, they pick up a streetwalker and go to her house to make love as she passively collects her income from their perverse behavior. In Knights of Cabiria, Cabiria meets a movie star on the Via Veneto, the street in which Marcello swims like a fish, while Cabiria flops around like a fish out of water. They go to his home, and she is forced to hide in the closet as he reconciles with his own glamorous lover. The situations are perfect mirrors of one another in their similar plot machinations and opposite perspectives, setting up the radical contrast between the two stories. Knights of Cabiria and La Dolce Vita begin with similar structures, but diverge about halfway through. Initially, both are episodic. Their third episode involves religious pilgrimages that turn into false miracles. After that, however, Dolce Vita continues with its non-linear, standalone experiences, while Cabiria finds a more consistent through line. The earlier film's title character spills her soul while hypnotized.
È proprio vero. Non cerca di ingannarmi. Mi vuole veramente bene.
And she is picked up by a seemingly sincere suitor,
Permette, signorina.
whom she spends nearly half the movie with.
Ma poi quando all'improvviso ci troviamo di fronte a un esempio di purezza, di candore.
Even here, however, there is an echo. At the midpoint of Knights of Cabiria, the charming Oscar emerges as a false prophet of love. finally offering the heroine an escape until the climax reveals his sinister intentions. Around the same spot in La Dolce Vita, the intellectual Steiner is presented as a possible release from Marcello's restless aspirations, despite Steiner's own warnings.
Se mi vedessi nella mia vera statura, ti accorgeresti che non sono più alto di così.
The climax for this promise is no less disillusioning. It's the endings of the two films which both contradict and complement one another most poetically. Marcello, having given up his dreams in exchange for a superficially exciting but spiritually deadening existence, encounters a girl that he met much earlier, when he was still trying, one last time, to write something he could consider worthy of himself.
Non scrive più?
Unable to understand her reminders, he walks away from this innocence and engagement. Cabiria, having suffered a far more visceral downfall, remains immersed in the richness of the world around her. She is crushed, but not alienated.
Buonasera.
Although she is far more worldly than the seaside waitress, their gazes rhyme across the years. We end Nights of Cabiria with Cabiria, smiling and weeping as she recognizes the beauty inside of the trauma. We do not end La Dolce Vita with Marcello, who blows away with the wind. Instead, we end with the nameless adolescent whose bemused, engaged expression still holds the promise of life.